At the March 9th Lansing City Council meetings, Council moved forward with round 2 of the data center property sale and rezoning. This is going to be located south of the Lugnut Stadium. They're setting public hearings for these items, and those are going to be at the next meeting. Council approved a new code violation tagging system for white, yellow, red, and black tags. They approved a rezone for a church to operate a shelter facility on South MLK Jr Boulevard. They introduced ordinances intended to tighten allowable liquor store activities. They rescinded one make-safe-or-demolish order for the historic Pruess building in Old Town. And public comments were focused mainly on opposition to the data center and disappointment for the city's actions, kicking some folks out of the Causeway Bay Hotel who were recently relocated there. Welcome to What Lansing Council, a podcast transforming Monday night's Lansing City Council meetings into an enthralling recap. And I'm your host, Jill Dombrowski. Today, my very special guest is Alyssa Cooling. Hi, Alyssa.
Hi, Jill. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you so much for coming. I'm really excited to talk to you about the meeting. Alyssa Cooling, previously Turcsak, am I saying that right?
You got it.
Great. Is the 4th Ward member of the City of Lansing's Arts and Culture Commission. Her day job is in the nonprofit sector. Alyssa is proudly in recovery from a substance use disorder and runs the program Sober in Lansing. She is also a graduate of the Lansing Citizens Academy and used to live in East Lansing and participated in their version of the Citizens Academy. So you've got all of the Academy citizen knowledge. Very cool.
Oh, yeah. So educated on city government related matters.
Yes.
Hopefully.
I see, and you are a patron of the show.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your support.
Yes.
Really, really appreciate it. So for a little bit more about yourself, could you tell us how you would describe Lansing in your own words?
Yes, I was prepared as a regular listener of this podcast, and so I picked the word earnest. I think that the people of Lansing that I've met in my time here really show up and care, and I think that is really beautiful for a community, and I think that really each community in the country has its own special flair, and I really think Lansing is special because it is filled with people who really care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what else do you love about Lansing?
So I would say that it takes just one person to make something new. And you see that happen all the time, like this podcast. You see it in so many different ways across the city. Like, you have somebody who's really passionate about something, and suddenly you have a new coffee shop like Peculiar Coffee or Recent Guest. You know, you have people who find their passion, find a way to bridge it in the community, and the community rallies around them. And I think that is really cool.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And what are some things that you're not so excited about in Lansing?
I heard this actually last night in a public comment, and I think it captures it really well, which is I would love to see more investment in community instead of economic development, or maybe in addition to economic development, because while it is important, I think there's a lot of community champions who are doing a lot of work and maybe not getting the same type of infrastructure and support that economic larger corporations are getting.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well said. And well said to the person in the meeting also. Great. Okay, so before we get into the meeting, I want to give some notes here about podcast scheduling. So after the last episode, I wanted to clarify that at the beginning of this year and also the beginning of last year, I sent an email introducing myself to the council members and the mayor, telling them what my project was, asking all of them to be guests on the podcast. Hey, happy to have you a guest anytime. Last year, Ryan Cost was the only person to show interest in coming on the show, and that was again the case this year. So I'd be very happy to have any and all of the other council members on the show, but I can only send so many emails.
Hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
Hello, come hang out, please.
So if anyone listening would like a different council member to be on the show, I would encourage you to reach out to them directly with some encouragement.
Yes. Yes.
And just in general, for booking guests, I have about a 20% success rate. So for every 5 people that I ask, 1 person will agree to be on the podcast. So it's kind of like a lot to do the scheduling. And I'm so grateful to the people who are willing to come in, because it is kind of a big ask, come in, talk about something, and donate your time to this project. So thank you so much, Alyssa, for being here. And for all of my previous guests, this show wouldn't happen without people being willing to come share their opinion.
That is so kind. And yes, +1 to that.
And just for the last part of this, if you have recommended a person to me, and I so appreciate when I get recommendations and you haven't seen them on the show, it's likely because they fall into that 80% of people who haven't responded or have just said no. So I still keep it up with the recommendations. I hear you. I'm trying, but just some people, they don't want to do it. And for totally fine. I respect everyone as their time needs and goals and everything. So yeah, that's that piece.
Love it. Great plug. Please show up.
Yes. Okay, let's do the meeting. You ready?
I'm ready.
Amazing. So we're at the March 9th City Council meeting, starting with the Committee of the Whole. We have 7 out of 8 council members present. Ryan Cost, representing the 1st Ward, was absent. His absence was excused. Dianara Navarez-Martinez of the 2nd Ward was there. Adam Hussein, representing the 3rd Ward, also present. Peter Spatafor, Council President of the 4th Ward, was there. All of our at-large members, we have Tamara Carter, Jeremy Garza, Clara Martinez, and Council Vice President Trini Pelivanoglu. Also at the Committee of the Whole, Greg Venker, the City Attorney, Sherry Boak, the Recording Secretary, and Mark Lawrence, the Mayor's Chief of Staff. So we started with the Elected Officer Compensation Commission, and the chairperson was there to explain the process to everybody. And his name is Derek Mellett. And he's saying, okay, our group is responsible for recommending the pay for the mayor, the clerk, and council. And it seems like council president and vice president get paid a little more because they were kind of singled out there. And he says that their goal right now is for the pay to be comparable to what it was in 1991. Not sure why this was the year, but this is our gold standard for them. And he's saying the mayor is below that standard, the clerk is above, but the clerk's office now has to deal with more things like marijuana licensing, and council is slightly below. Councilmember Hussein says, do you gather any public input? And Mellett says, no, but we're open to it should it come our way.
We're not going out and looking for it, but send it our way.
That's right. Navarez-Martinez says, when you're looking at comparable cities to do this analysis, do you take into account if at those other municipalities council members have staff or not? Because that makes a big difference in our workload. And he's like, nope, not looking at that.
That's a really good question.
There is some input for you to take into consideration, sir. Then they were appointing a new person to this board, Caitlin O'Rourke, and she said, I am on the Potter Park Zoo board, I'm on a state board, I saw an opening for this board, and I applied. Councilmember Hussein says, it looks like on your application you said you work for a fundraising organization. Do you do political fundraising? She was like, nope. And everyone's like, great. Go forth and do compensating for us. Next, we had the Board of Water and Light, Chief Financial Officer, and Assistant General Manager there giving a presentation to share their financial audit results from the 2025 fiscal year. And they said, we have a clean audit. Everything is great with our finances. Nothing to see here. Board of Water and Light has $2 billion in assets, $1 billion in outstanding debts, and they had a $51 million increase in revenue last year, mostly due to rate increases that they did. And that led to a $27 million net income for last year. And they said their retirement plans are funded well above 100%. So Spatafor says, okay, you had a $27 million profit. That's up from $9 million last year due to a controversial rate increase that you imposed. Say more again about why you needed to do that. And they're like, sure. So we use this money to reinvest in our infrastructure to keep up with replacement costs, the borrowing rate on our loans, and inflation. Like, this isn't like a frivolous increase. We need the money.
I can understand the need for infrastructure, but that feels like quite a bit of money.
Like, it's a big jump.
Yeah.
That's
$9 million to $27 million.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What are they doing with? Did they talk about what they're doing with the excess?
They just said like maintaining the infrastructure. It was, and that could have been in the report in other places, but kind of a blanket maintenance mode. So then there was a presentation by Shelby Freyer on behalf of the New Hope Community Center. And Freyer has a long history with Lansing and the Shore administration that I'm sure could fill the content of several podcasts. I don't know it, but she resigned from Shore's administration 2 times. But she's back here. Happy to be back. Happy to be presenting. She's a great presenter. She's there on behalf of the New Hope Shelter and Community Center. They're currently on Larch Street, north of Shiawassee. And she says, this community shelter is running a deficit. The building is in disrepair. We want to move to downtown, closer to where the City Rescue Mission has relocated to. And they're saying, we run a lot of day services for people. So a lot of people from the City Rescue Mission, they come to us during the day, and now they have to walk. So far, they have to walk past the proposed data center site. We don't want to have people walk past there. She didn't say that. That's me.
Can't have that.
So we want to be closer to where the City Rescue Mission is. And we found a new building. It's just north of the county court building on Kalamazoo and just north of the Brownfield project that was brought up at the last meeting. This is just a presentation about their proposed move. And I think they're going to need a land use change for this, maybe a rezone. So they're doing the presentation, and then the council will make some decisions on that stuff in subsequent meetings. So they did have 200 beds at their current location, and they're going to go down to 56 beds at the new spot. So it's a big decrease.
Yeah, that's a big decrease.
And for me, it's like you're effectively washing out the extra capacity that the City Rescue Mission was like, we're going to have 200 new beds. Well, and then we're losing 150 beds. So it's really just like a 50 bed increase in the move. But they serve the communities of families who need spots to sleep, and also veterans. So that's like their main people that they're serving. They have overnight stays for those folks. And again, their day services are open to anybody, unlike the City Rescue Mission, which closes up during the day. So they say they have caseworkers, mail service, a food pantry, laundry, and they're going to have an expanded shower that will be available for folks in encampments to be able to come in and use facilities there. Councilmember Hussein asks, will there be a gap in coverage with this move? And Freyer says, nope, the City Rescue Mission is going to help out with the move. Carter asks, are there other wraparound services for veterans specifically? And Freyer is like, yep, we get a lot of money through the VA, the Veterans Affairs. There's one public comment on this that says, and this person says, Council, what you should be asking is what's going to happen to that building when they leave? We're just going to have like another blighted building?
That's an excellent point.
Yeah. And later, I think Hussein or Spatafor was like, there's a developer interested, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did a volunteer event there once. Part of my background is, I mentioned I'm in recovery before. This is part of my story. Mm-hmm. Before I entered into recovery, I was working at an organization in East Lansing, and we did a volunteer outing at New Hope. And so I've been inside the building in a volunteer capacity, and it was like a huge building with a ton of storage, and part of the volunteers experience was like cleaning up the trash. There was some like trash in this storage space, and I just remember thinking that at the time it was such a large building that was being underutilized. Mm-hmm. It was like so much space and for whatever reason the capacity, but so I think that part about, okay, if there's a developer interested, that would be great, but I do think leaving that big empty building is probably not ideal. And I think it's nice to hear about the collaboration between City Rescue Mission and New Hope. I think that is, anytime you see organizations collaborating, that's great. I wonder, like what are the voices of people impacted? What, who have they weighed in on this decision? And did Shelby mention anything? Okay, so
no.
Yeah, I think I would be curious to hear directly from people receiving services if that move would be helpful.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Great point. Next, we had a little bit of a presentation on the boards and commissions expiration report. So the boards, people are up, they get like a set term, and then their term expires, and then will they or won't they be rolled over to continue to be appointed. So Mark Lawrence is there on the mayor's behalf, and Councilmember Hussein asks when people are up for reappointment, like, what's your process there? And Mark Lawrence is like, it's at the mayor's discretion.
Good.
Yep. Councilmember Navarez-Martinez says there's quite a few reappointments in Ward 2, my ward. How are you looking for new people to fill these spots? And Mark Lawrence says, we do social media. We ask council members for help. Councilmember Carter says, do you reach out to neighborhood organizations as well? Lawrence is like, sure. And so with the charter update, reappointees have to fill the application out again. So that was a change now. You have to say again why you're interested and any conflicts, that sort of thing.
Okay. That's good. I mean, I think that's good.
Yeah.
I know we talked about this briefly, but I'm on the Arts and Culture Commission, and there have been folks on that for a long time. And this came up in one of our meetings, and it was a similar response, like, oh, it's up to the mayor's discretion on when people fulfill their terms and how they roll over or continue on, so to speak. But I think that having people reaffirm their interest in the committees or boards that they're on is a good idea. Because anytime you have someone in leadership for a long time, it's good to, like, God check it. Like, is this still fulfilling, or is it, like, mutually beneficial for everyone involved still?
Yeah. Yeah, everyone's still on good terms with the mayor? Good. Next, we're getting into Q2 budget amendments, Q2 budget amendments to the city budget. We have Jake Brower, the chief strategy officer there. He's saying a few things. He says we've got some extra money from the opioid settlement due to, I think, some returns on investments they've made with that money. And so those monies are going to go to the human relations, community services, and fire departments. The city's going to get $6 million in additional funding for roads from the state, and they're going to get more state funding for 6 additional police officer jobs that they've kind of been talking about for a while, so that's actually happening. They heard that they should and can give $1 million additional into their pension funding for this year, so they want to do that, and they're going to put $100,000 aside for disaster funding. Spatafor says, we spent like $25,000 already this year on Code Blue fund for things for people when it was really cold to get out of the cold. Would that fall under the disaster funding? Brower's like, yes. Spatafor says during the regular meeting, he says, thank you so much to the state officials who fought hard to get us additional funding for roads and public safety monies. I especially want to thank Senator Sarah Anthony, Senator Singh, State Rep Stevendorf and Hope, and Governor Whitmer. Councilmember Garza says, how are we going to keep these 6 police officers funded after the state funding runs out? And there's a lengthy answer here, but there's, I guess, some federal judicial grants that are also coming that'll cover for a couple years. And then they have a plan to cover this with the local monies after the state and federal monies run out.
Good.
There's a plan.
I was thinking about, I was like, oh, this sounds nice in theory as a one-time influx, but how do you sustain that?
Right. Yeah. And I kind of missed... prior Councilmember Jackson, whenever this would come up, he would always comment, we have vacancies in the police system currently. We need to focus on filling those positions before we're just adding a bunch of new positions that we aren't filling. So I'll say that on his behalf.
Yes. That did used to come up.
Yeah. No one's saying that anymore. So anyways, we're on to the deep green. You ready for deep green times?
Okay, I'm ready. I've been tuning in. I wrote down a particular comment from public comment, but this was in the regular meeting, so I'll hold it until.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for the deep green, what's happening now is they're back. They've amended the buy-sell agreement on the deep green property, and this includes some things like they must comply with noise ordinances. But again, like a little bit of confusion here because there is no industrial noise ordinance. So did that mean that they would comply with the residential ordinance under the current zoning, or like when it's zoned industrial, there's no noise ordinance? So a little bit of confusion for me anyways. And then there will be a penalty if they don't employ 18 people. So that's up from 15 is what they earlier promised. So I'm wondering if those 3 extra are from now. They're saying for running the power plant, they're going to subcontract that out to a new company. So maybe it's like 3 people to do that. I don't know. I don't know the details of the 3 new people. But there's a long explanation also about how the Lansing Building Authority has some stake in ownership, a part of one of the parcels, because it used to be a hotel that, quote, was not of the finest repute. So
that's a good word.
Yes. Attorney Venker really like doing some digging there into the history of these parcels, finding their repute. Councilmember Hussein says anything in this agreement about the green space or public art. We had talked about that a little bit. And Attorney Venker is like, we cannot define art or green space in this legal document. So
interesting.
No. Councilmember Hussein says, and no reappraisal for the sale because it's the sale amount is still $1.4 million, which it has been. And Attorney Venker is like, 1.4 seems high to me for a parking lot, but like, I'll look into some comps and get back to you.
What is happening?
So then they're talking about the rezoning, and now the primary applicant is Deep Green, and the city is listed as a co-applicant for the rezoning. Council sets the public hearing for both of these to be at the next meeting in 2 weeks.
Okay.
So this was, we're putting it on the agenda for the next one.
Yes.
So public comments here. Somebody says, I was looking at the site plan. There's a huge area for the fuel storage. I have a lot of questions about fuel storage, but it seems like the time for questions is over, and this is just being rubber stamped through. I was disappointed to see when this went back to the Planning and Zoning Commission Board for the revote, and one commissioner who had voted against it this time voted for it. And he said last time he didn't like the idea of a data center downtown, but now it's a data center and a power plant. Like, why do you like it now? Like, it seemed weird that this guy changed his vote.
Yes.
He said, I asked the Deep Green CEO, Mark Lee, why residents should want this. And the CEO said, well, with the increased property tax, you can get some additional cops on the street.
What?
Yes.
That's a wild answer.
I know. Another person said, we're getting away from our plan to have a thriving downtown with this data center. The CO2 emissions are bringing us further away from our climate change reduction promises. We need to be looking into this agreement with the new contractors who will be running the power plant. Bloom is the name. We need to be like looking in this as much as we can, because once this vote goes through, this whole process is going to become very opaque to the city. They're not going to have to share anything. Somebody else says, you councilors campaigned on listening to your residents. Do that now. This is a valuable piece of property that should not be squandered. Stop listening to those who bought your seats up there and listen to the people. Somebody says, I'm late to the party here, but I'm shocked to see this isn't a full house again. But I'm in opposition to the data center. And this person really like slow rolled their opinion, the way that they gave their comment. It was impressive because you could kind of see like, oh, which way is this going to go?
Yes.
It's like I'm a small business owner.
Yes.
Like I'm a dad. Like I'm thinking about moving to downtown. It's like,
where is this going?
And no data centers.
That person is the comment I wrote down, so I must have mistaken. I did catch that part, but it was like how much pushback is on this and how far it continues to go. Like that
Mm-hmm.
to me is what has stood out in this whole process is like,
Yeah.
you have so many people, and this is just the people who have the capacity to show up and to write in.
Yeah.
It's not accounting for all the people who haven't had the opportunity to voice their opinions, even at the pop-up meetings they're doing. Pardon, I don't remember what they're called.
That's fine. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Informational meetings.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the fact that this is that point, I know there's like passionate public commenters, and if you can look at the core of what they're saying, it's like they're asking to be heard and to be represented, and
Right.
and like we are, and that's not what is being reflected in the actions of this process so far.
Yeah. And somebody was like, listen, I don't want to be doing all this math. Like, I want to be out having a good
Yes.
time in the city, but I feel like I have to do
Yes.
I have to do a lot of work on behalf of the people
Yes.
to kind of like make this more transparent. And maybe that's the work that you counselors should be doing and reporting back out on. Like, why is it on us?
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah. Somebody else is like, if this passes, maybe we'll get an old-fashioned petition going to kick you all out. I'd love to see something else there, like a gas station. Also, we should be able to cuss at you and flick people off. I don't like that we can't do that anymore.
I did see that one as well.
Yes, good times there. So then let's get into the regular meeting. Ready for the regular?
I am ready.
Do you want to hear the best dress? Should we have a little break for best dress?
Yes. Okay, I wrote down someone.
Okay.
It's not going to be a shock.
Chris Swope?
Yes.
Ding ding.
Like, Chris, give the rest of us a chance. Come on.
Yes. He had on a solid peach, I believe, linen shirt, button-up undershirt, and then a garden party lattice weave, orange and white creamsicle suit jacket. Just astounding. He's got his asymmetric white and tortoiseshell glasses and a rainbow bejeweled pendant necklace. Not sure if you could see that, but...
It showed up a little bit on the
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
That was a great description, by the way.
Thank you.
You always crush it with the descriptions. You paint a very vivid image. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. So, regular meeting. Christopher Mumby is there representing the mayor. He's deputy mayor, and we have Clerk Swope. So, we have two news crews were in attendance. News folks. And they left after the special presentations to honor area pastors were canceled. So, bye. Okay, so here's to the public comments that were at the regular meeting, in addition to those data center ones I already covered. So there's one easement agreement in the consent agenda with a property that the state of Michigan owns, and there's a bit of river trail on the west side of the Grand through downtown, like just north of Kalamazoo. And this person is saying, I'm urging you to add in language protecting the trees and the landscaping into that easement agreement, something similar to what we have with the cemetery easements. But this was ignored. That was passed. No updates. And then a bunch of people were there talking about the Causeway Bay Hotel folks. So they're saying this move to the Causeway Bay was a huge help to people. People were able to look for stable housing, get their medical needs, start to get their documents. A few people found jobs. Like this was working.
Yes.
But the city seems intent on seeing it fail because apparently they kicked a bunch of people out for missing required meetings, and they went on to explain that somebody had a medical emergency during that meeting, came back with a doctor's note, and, quote, that was no excuse.
That's devastating.
Yes. Other people with disabilities had a hard time getting to those meetings, just physically getting to them because of their disabilities, and they were kicked out for those reasons.
I hate all of that.
Yeah.
Like listening to this whole process unfold and hearing you talk about it and having Khadijah on and like listening to the work that has been done throughout. Like the residents didn't ask for this to happen. And then suddenly they're being given such firm parameters, and it's not a harm reduction approach. It's like you're forcing these systems on people who are trying their best to survive, and it's actually awful. It is awful.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But thank you, everyone, for being there and keeping it on in front of council, you know.
And lean more into like what is working, and how can you bring it more to people if people are unable to be there for whatever reason. Where is the, like, I understand systems and structures are important. Of course they're important, especially when you're trying to create something sustainable. And yet, where is the humanity in the process? I think that is, yeah.
And I'm not directly involved, but it just seems like this could be like a learning opportunity approach. Like, let's learn, let's help each other. It doesn't seem like that has been the mindset going into this.
Yes.
Another person said somebody was evicted from the hotel because they got a job that paid too much, but it was before he was able to secure new housing. So now he has this job he's probably going to lose because he doesn't have a place to live. And the city isn't saving any money by kicking these people out because the rooms have already been paid for.
I missed that.
So this is just needlessly cruel.
Oh my God.
We're being prejudiced against the homeless population for no reason.
I didn't catch that part.
Somebody else says, and I'm not verifying that, but that's what they said. We've been working on a tenant's bill of rights that's been stalled by the city attorney's office for 9 months. A lot of people here felt hope with this move, and now we're just stripping that away. There was proof that this was working. This housing first approach is working, and it just seems like you didn't care. Yeah, we're all just people here. No one is better or worse than anyone else. You're here to represent all the people of Lansing and lead, do a better job. Somebody else says Cattle Route 6 should be expanded to cover all of Jolly Road and add a stop for the new election office. Somebody else says the Urban Planning Department needs to emphasize community development, not economic development. The city needs to repair its existing infrastructure instead of trying to grow. And then he gave a personal story. He says, I was hassled by a police officer this winter for walking in the road when the sidewalk was not cleared. What the what?
Yes. Yes.
Somebody else said, listen, I want a vacation and I was determined to get out of this dump of a city. But then when I came back, I decided to stay and fight. So I do not feel represented by this council. The residents aren't an endless stream of money for you to do whatever you want with. We shouldn't be expected to pay for everything. Somebody else says, hey, the mayor isn't here, and I don't feel like yelling as much anymore. Why are we fighting? Like, why are we fighting with you? You're representing us. Represent us. Thank you to Ryan Costs for doing that. I want to be out having fun in the city. I said this. But I keep thinking about the hum from the data center. Yes. And let the residents work with you and add to the city. Like, let's be friends.
I love that. Jerry is such, I really appreciate Jerry's presence, like, in all the things, and especially at council meetings. I think he always like phrases things in a way that just, it really lands. It just really lands. When my Jerry story is when I was first in very early baby recovery, I was like looking for some place to host some peer support groups, and someone was like, do you know Jerry at the Fledge? And I walk in, and one thing Jerry always says that I love, and I think this is such a beautiful approach to community building, is like, he's like, I say yes before I even turn around. Like, and I think that really is true, and that's what my experience was with the Fledge. I'm no longer involved in those peer support spaces, but we did host them there for a while. And so it was one of those things where he like fully opened the door and was like, yeah, bring people in. Like, this is your space. And I think that is just such a, not specific to his comments here, but I think how I'm hearing it is like, that's the work that fuels him. And so like, instead he's having to spend time on researching with like fuel cells, you know, like, and so like let our Jerrys of the city, you know, like
focus on creating the fledgling spot for people.
Exactly.
Like, it sounds like he really did that for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Aww.
Exactly.
Yeah. For me, Jerry, it's like he has thought things through already, like 4 levels deep. I'm just like reacting. I'm just like surface level reaction. And Jerry has already gone, like, dug down.
Yes.
So far, you have thought this through. Okay, and then the last comment started off, I was like, oh, this person looks familiar. And then I was like, oh, yeah, I remember this person. This person started off talking about a court case at the Sixth Circuit and being denied due process, and then got into some shouted profanity. The mic was cut off, and Spatafor called the police officers to remove this person, and meeting adjourned.
Yeah, that was a really intense ending.
Yeah.
I know they like cut the feed, so I didn't know what happened, but it's really hard when people there's something happened that drove that much emotion.
Yes.
And so what are the supports in place to like de-escalate the situation, because having police come in, it clearly escalated further. That agitated him further. So
right.
And I wasn't in the room, so I'd be curious to hear what your experience was.
That's really interesting about the de-escalation, because they clearly knew this was coming. This person has come and given similar comments before. They put him at the end, like last on the agenda. So, I mean, yeah, this could have been handled differently. Yeah. For sure. And afterwards, after they cut the feed, I mean, the person calmed down and left on their own. And I think the police and Spatafor had a little chit-chat about it. And, yeah, but this person like sat so calmly and quietly through the whole meeting, and is like given signs of like, like quiet applause when they see something that they like, and then just like waiting patiently their time to say their piece. Yeah. They're mad.
It makes me think about, you've brought this up in the past where, and I do think this is the way to do it, is moving public comment to the beginning of the meeting. And then I think about situations like this where it's like, oh, that would require a different approach to really passionate speakers.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think at this time the council has a system in place that's super supportive for that. I do think that having public comment at the beginning would be amazing, though.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely more people, community focused.
Right.
And not having, I mean, can you imagine the meeting from a few weeks ago where it was like, there were 90 people?
Clerk Swope said 90 people, 80 or 90 people have signed up to give comment.
Yes.
And then he had to pass through so many of them who had left.
Which is, yeah.
That is a clear indicator that you're not hearing the people who want to be heard.
Yes, agreed. Fully agreed.
Okay, more things happening. Ready?
Yes, ready.
More. This was a lot of little things that happened. So there's going to be a May 5th special election for Ingham County. The Ingham County School District bond, we heard of this a few meetings ago. They want some money to rehab some of their facilities. Absentee ballots are going to be mailed out end of March. The mayor's comments were given by Deputy Mumby. He says the Lansing Economic Development Corporation facade improvement grant deadline has been extended a week. The mayor would say some sports something, but sports ball, whatever. 2 public hearings got no comments. One was a request to make a new church for, I think they said 100 people, and also they're going to have a radio show, so that's exciting. And then one more noise waiver request for sewer separation work in downtown. The city attorney has said he's been working with Ryan Cost on taking away the make-safe-or-demolish order off of the 308 East Cesar E. Chavez, where this is the old Pruess building, not Pruess Pets, but original Pruess owned this, and it was a market or something. It sounds like the city owns it now, and the city has found $100,000 to keep it from falling down, and so this passes. So that is not going to be torn down. 2 new make-safe-or-demolish orders were passed. I think both were for residential properties. Councilmember Martinez recused herself from 3 votes that were related to the Lansing School District because she said it's a conflict of interest for me because I work for the school district. And I was like, oh, I thought Adam Hussein works for the school district, but no, he works for Waverly School District. So the 3 things were approving the nonprofit status for the Band Booster Organization at Everett High School, granting the right-of-way for school buses in front of Forest View and Luton schools. They said the sidewalks will be moved onto school property, but the school will be maintaining all this. So good luck with the busing and all that. Brownfield Plan 90 for the Capitol Walk apartments that we heard about at the previous meeting, and this is for 124 new apartment units in one building, and only 16 of them will have 2 bedrooms. The rest will be studios or singles, just south of the Ingham County Court building. So like a lot happening in that area right there of downtown. There was one public comment here saying the current existing downtown apartment complex are not full. We need to also focus on helping or giving tax breaks to folks in like single family residential areas.
Yeah.
But this brownfield gets passed. No one votes against that. Councilmember Hussein introduces some ordinance changes, and he's saying we're working on these to try to give the city more control over liquor stores. So
I love that. Yes. Snap, because I remember when that happened, what necessitated all of this, or maybe not necessitated it, but inspired it.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And yeah, because there are clusters of liquor stores that people are capitalizing on addictions, and it's enraging. Mm-hmm. So I was very pleased to hear this, the 32 to 35.
Yeah.
Half-mile distance.
Half-mile, that's what Hussein says, as the crow flies, so you can't have, I guess, new liquor stores coming in to that radius.
Which, let me be clear, not trying to rain on people's parade, because I know alcohol is very prevalent in our society. Mm-hmm. And if you have to go an extra half mile, maybe that's a good thing,
Yes.
Yeah.
Get a little walk in.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
There's no need to concentrate so many access points in one location.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, I think there was a corner of Kalamazoo where like a third liquor store was being added to the same corner. Yes. And Councilmember Hussein and Cost were really upset about this. Yes. They wanted to stop it, and the Liquor Control Board was like, oh, this seems fine to us.
Exactly.
Yeah. Another part of that change was no outdoor seating at liquor stores. So then they're passing an update to the Property Maintenance International Code from the 2015 base code. This will clarify the role of some code officials, but they're adding in that red tag monitoring fees can be waived if the owner demonstrates they are bringing the property up to compliance. They have to request this a month before the fees. That's a change. And then they're going from 7 days to 10 days for giving notification for if you're going to get dinged for having your grass too high, I think they said. Okay. So adding a few days there. So that passes. Another thing that passes is the changes to the building code violation notices. So here we're going from the pink and the red tag to the white, the yellow, red, and black. And Councilmember Hussein reviews these. The white tags will be for no rental certification. So if there's a problem with the rental certification, you get a white tag. That's a civil infraction. Yellow tag if there's a failed inspection. Red tag if the building is unfit for human occupancy but not in imminent danger. Black for dangerous buildings that are in need of demolition.
Okay.
And this was an interesting part of the meeting. Councilmember Navarez Martinez says, someone asked me if I was going to recuse myself from this vote because my house has recently been pink tagged.
Yes, I saw that.
It was like, ooh. And she says, first of all, I am a renter. I don't have any control over the certification.
Exactly.
And I'm now in a precarious situation through no fault of my own.
Yes.
Many of my Ward 2 members are renters, and they just happen to be in these enforcement situations, and it's falling on them to deal with it.
Yes.
So this is not a conflict at all. And in fact, I'm very proud to be representing other renters and giving them a voice on this council. Until very recently, we had no renters on this council, and now we have 2. So a little bit of an inadvertent outing of Councilmember Martinez being a renter, but there we go. So everyone votes in favor of the 4-placard system.
I love that there are renters, because I recall there's been a lot of conversation. Rent is too damn high. Sorry, I don't know if I can say that.
I'm also confused on whether dam is a problem or not. Yes.
I'll edit it.
But the water dam. Yeah. Too many dams.
The rent is too water dam high.
Yeah.
So they have been present, but what I will say is I have been a renter my whole time in Lansing, and I have had mostly wonderful people that I've been renting from. And there was one experience that was not so great. And because of the Lansing Citizens Academy, yay, shout out, I knew about the housing ombudsman. And so I was able to contact the city's housing ombudsman and get support for, like, what do I need to do with this situation? And I mean, obviously, we currently have one housing ombudsman. So
a job. Housing ombudsman?
Ombudsman. Ombudsman.
I'll put that in the show notes.
Yes. So it's a resource that for me was super helpful when I was going through it. Again, obviously there's like so many things that legally you can do, which is why the Tenant Bill of Rights is really important. But I think that the having access to somebody who knows a lot about like renters law through the city that is available to you as a city resident. Mm-hmm. So I found that to be really helpful when I was going through a situation that was pretty tricky, but luckily I'm not in that situation anymore.
Well, good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yay, renters, because these are things like, I think it's a great point. Like, these things are happening. I'm being left to deal with it. It is no fault of my own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Councilmember Navarez-Martinez.
Yes, +1.
They tried to add an immediate effect to some of these ordinance changes, but Clerk Swope speaks up and says with the charter changes, all ordinance changes are now given 14 days to go into effect instead of 30, but this is following the posting in a newspaper that the clerk's office handles to give the citizens a heads up, and also the mayor is given a longer time to veto any of the things that council changes.
Yeah.
So just FYI there, procedural changes. And then lastly, they passed the rezoning for the Union Missionary Baptist Church also on MLK to allow them to operate a shelter at their facility. There was one public comment here saying this is spot zoning. Their intended use should not require a whole rezone. They say they only want to shelter people like during the blue zone times. Like they don't want to operate a permanent shelter. So why are we doing this rezone? I've tried to talk to city officials about this with this question, and I've really gotten nowhere and have been disappointed with how this whole thing has played out.
Yikes.
Yeah.
It's a bummer.
I know. But they're trying to help.
They are trying to help.
Yeah. People trying to help. Make it easier for them to help, city.
Either you open a warming shelter and you get penalized by the city for helping, or you try to go through the proper channels and you still aren't getting the support. That's a real bummer.
Yeah. We got to change our mindset. We got to be more like Jerry. Say yes.
Yes.
Say yes.
Say yes.
Mm-hmm. That's a meeting. Check out the Patreon for podcast bingo for each meeting, as well as issue maps of the locations discussed. Thank you so much for being a member of that. The next council meeting will be in 2 weeks on March 23rd, and our guest will be the Ingham County 30th Circuit Court Judge, the Honorable Rosemary Aquilina.
Fun.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yes. I got her prime mystery thriller from the library that she's written. She's written 3 novels.
Oh my God.
And also her memoir. So I'm going to read those. So now that I've said it, maybe I...
You're holding yourself accountable.
I read a few pages last night, so I have done some. Very good. Great. Excellent writer. Do you have any shout outs that you want to give for other groups or events?
Yeah. So Sober in Lansing, I mentioned, it is currently on a pause because I needed a break. I think that is, I love it, obviously. And I think it's really important to take a break if things aren't filling your cup. And I was feeling like it was not filling my cup. And so I needed a pause. But Sober in Lansing typically hosts alcohol-free gatherings. I think there's a lot of spaces in the recovery community that are focused on like peer support, or they might be like most people know about AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. So Sober in Lansing is intended to be like a social space, not like a meeting, or not even, you don't even have to talk about recovery necessarily. It does tend to come up, but you don't have to be in recovery. We have people who come who are just like, I just want to meet people without alcohol present. And so just keep an eye out for that. I have a Facebook page and a Instagram page, but both are inactive right now, but you can look for those coming back. And then the other thing I wanted to shout out is I love the poetry room. I haven't been to one of their events in a couple months, but I do love the poetry room, so I wanted to mention it. They are hosted most often at the Robin Theater by Masaki Takahashi, and then we have the 517 Coffee Company is my other shout out. I love
nice.
I love their coffee. It is on the south side, and I also used to work and volunteer at the Cat Cafe.
Oh.
And the Cat Cafe is where I first got introduced to 517 because they provided beans and then trained the baristas. They might still do that. I don't know. But anyhow, 517 is lovely. They have fantastic creative drinks. Like every month they have a new drink. They have new seasonal drinks. It's just delightful. If you're a coffee drinker, give them a check out. They also nobody asked me to plug these things. I'm just plugging them because I like them as a human.
Wow. Thank you. Amazing. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing for Sober in Lansing. I just think that's a wonderful idea.
Thank you.
And just kind of keeping it simple, like
Yes.
let's just have an opportunity for people to get together and not have to be worrying about the drinking part of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that there's like a famous talk about addiction, and in it they talk about how like the opposite of addiction is connection. And let me just say this.
Yeah.
There could be more support for people who are seeking treatment, inpatient treatment for recovery of an addiction. And for me, mine was alcohol, but like in general, any sort of addiction. I ended up going to like several different rehab facilities outside of Lansing, and then finally was one in Lansing, but now that has since closed.
Oh.
And so there's not that type of care and support that I think is maybe needed and isn't being offered in a really thoughtful way at this time. So I think that's something that the city could do to improve as well. But
well, thank you so much for sharing that.
Yes,
definitely. And I think it is relevant. They talk about the liquor
exactly.
changes to the liquor laws there. So
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here and for sharing.
Thank you.
Wonderful to see you and speak with you.
Likewise. And can I end, before you end, can I end with just mentioning, because you always do such a nice description, I want to say that I am loving the earrings today. They're iridescent rain clouds, and the rains are sparkle, like they're different color raindrops. So cute. So I wanted to shout those out too.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I really love these earrings.
They're good.
I got them from the mall. Thank you, the mall. And thank you to the Public Media Center for letting us record with you. So nice to be here. And thank you, everyone, for listening.